assets. Real value.
Good morning. It's Monday. It's the 5th of January 2026. For those living in Spain, it's the start of Three Kings Day, a very important day for the Spanish. But it's a massively important day for the entire planet today, and this whole week is very, very important. There will be many, many, many distractions because we're watching the old fiat currency, the old US dollar, the old euro collapse. And of course, if you're Bulgarian, you'll be over the moon that the euro's collapsing because you just joined it on January the 1st. So just as you joined it, it's all collapsing. Oh dear. Got your timing wrong there. But having said that, it's all part of the plan. But we're watching the US dollar, the old fiat currency, disappear. It's being collapsed on purpose. You're watching a movie. It's all being done. So everything that's happening is part of the destruction of the old system. There's people out there going, well, I think Trump is collapsing it on purpose. Yeah, he is. He's collapsing the old fiat currency because the cabal, the deep state, they've controlled it since time began. They've controlled fiat currency. It's not backed by anything, has no value. But to people who've been able to utilize it for their own gains, for war, for human trafficking, for drugs, for whatever, those days are over. And we're going to watch this week, the first week in January, the complete collapse of the old system. Now, you won't be able to turn on your television and see the banks and the financial institutes collapsing because they're hiding it from you. You'll have to come to channels like us to find out the truth as to what's really going on in the world. And my most important calling is to warn you to look after your own financial responsibility. Take responsibility for your own financial position so that if the banks close tomorrow, if electricity went off tomorrow and you couldn't use a credit card, a debit card or whatever, how would you survive? My job is to prepare you for that. Now, I hope it doesn't come to the fact that we have 10 days or 14 days without money or without electricity. I hope we don't get to that. But be prepared for that because things are going to happen. And as we transition from an old system to a new system, there's going to be some bumps in the road. Don't be scared. It's a very important time as we transition forward. But there'll be so much distraction out there. Don't get distracted. Drew, good morning.
Good morning, Charlie. Good morning, everyone. Well, off the back of that, Charlie, speaking of collapse, what's happening in Germany? Berlin remains partially without power after deliberate sabotage of high voltage cables. Around 45,000 households were affected. Authorities say full restoration may take until January the 8th. Pure example, Charlie, of what could happen and how are they surviving out there?
Well, we've been through this little exercise in Spain before. Now Germany is going through it. And for the Germans who laughed in the face of Donald Trump, who suggested do not have all your eggs in one basket when it comes to power supply, they just laughed at him. How are you coping right now? Because obviously this is all part of the movie. This is all part of the pantomime. But it's very important to see how you react. Spain, after 7-8 hours, went into complete collapse. And only people who actually had cash could buy anything because the shops stopped taking cards, the ATMs stopped taking cards. There's a little lesson in there somewhere that sometimes when the system fails, and I've had it over the weekend, where I've learned that British Airways don't have a customer service desk anymore, not at Terminal 5 in the UK. Their hub, their new hub, they don't even have a customer service desk there. They don't want to have one at Malaga Airport. You have to use their call centre. Well, their call centre was down over the weekend. Then what happens? When you depend on these systems and they fail, you have to use what's known as common sense. A lot going on, Drew. Well, guys, for those people who've been watching the entertainment, that's what I call it, at the entertaining part of this movie, you'll have been watching Venezuela. You'll have been watching the videos that came out on mainstream media, shared on Donald Trump's channel. Interesting how they've all been debunked as AI since, every one of them. That doesn't surprise me, however, because I happen to know that Maduro and the drug dealers and everything else that were involved and the people who rigged all the elections were all arrested between 2021 and 2022. We've just entered 2026. So everything that you've seen happen has had to be AI because it was done 4 years ago in real time because it was incredibly dangerous. We're now seeing right now how dangerous it was, but it's all part of the distraction. Venezuela is all part of the distraction. Yes, they've got more oil. We've known that since Kingdom Come. They've got more oil than you could ever dream of. They can supply the whole world effortlessly with oil. But it's all part of the distraction as we watch the US dollar, the old fiat currency, collapse in plain sight. And we need it to prevent civil war. Drew.
Charlie, off the back of that, a question that came to my mind is that Venezuela holds 303 billion barrels of proven oil revenues, and that's around $57 a barrel. So if that value is about $17.3 trillion, can Trump use that to wipe off the $34 to $35 trillion US debt?
Well, from a logical point of view, that would say so. From a logical point of view. But I've asked from day one, 6 years ago, you talk about all this debt. First of all, who is the debt to? Second of all, what is it backed by? Third of all, is it even legitimate? Well, the first question is, people say the Bank of International Settlements are who it's owed to. They're the people that printed it. In my words, illegally, because it's not backed by anything. So if you've got money that's not backed by anything, that has no tangible value, then why are you paying it back? Why are you in debt? The reason we're in debt is because they say we're in debt. The deeper you look into it, the more you'll find out that the debt is nothing more than a paper debt. Now, over the past 5 years of me watching, I've watched the US desperately try and cross over digital currency with fiat currency in the desperate attempt on the basis that there's nothing backing digital currency. Then they go together perfectly so they can offset their debt. Now, whether it's with oil from Venezuela, whatever, it'll have to make sense to the normies out there. Otherwise, there'll be civil war. That they've believed all this debt and had all these extra taxes and had all these older people homeless and all these former servicemen homeless over a complete lie. So you have to break it to the public gently, bit by bit. Otherwise, we all know America, you'll be back in the Civil War again. True.
Next up, the UK and France have carried out joint airstrikes in Syria, targeting ISIS weapons facility in the central desert region.
Well, these stories always make me laugh when you go to war against ISIS. ISIS the Israeli Secret Intelligence Service, funded by the CIA, and you're going to war against them. You created, and you're winning. When you create something and then you start winning, this is all part of their old playbook, their old game that they play where, we've caught all these ISIS people. Of course you caught them. You created them. You knew where you put them. It's not hard, is it? This is all part of the deceitful life that we've been living through for the past, I don't know how many years. But we're moving forward. We're moving into the light, out of the dark. This is the first full week of 2026. I want you to enjoy it because it's going to be a lot of fun. The first 2 months are going to be very, very active. The first 6 months are going to be amazing. Look forward to the light at the end of the tunnel. Sit back and relax between now and the 1st of April, the real first of the year. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, do your research. Transition gently as we change. Things will change very, very soon. But April the 1st, they call it April Fool's Day because we're fools to believe what we do believe, because April the 1st is the first official day of the year. There's a lot coming down the pipeline. Enjoy the day. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful, wonderful week.
Stay blessed, guys. Bye-bye.
Noble Gold. Real assets. Real value.